Hello, everybody. I hope that you're well. So, huge welcome to my new podcast. It's called The Very Cool Podcast, which makes me chuckle every time I say things like that. It's just this word cool. I don't know whether something is very cool or whether it's really uncool. But either way, it's called The Very Cool Podcast. And I wanted to talk about all things human design and business. And initially, it'll be me chatting about it, and then hopefully, I'll get some really cool guests on as well, so you can hear their point of view and how hopefully they integrate human design or maybe even other techniques and other kind of structures and transformational kind of processes into their business. So, just to take a bit of a step back, I've been in the small business area for over 20 odd years. I've been creating and handmaking kind of items since I was very little. I have a story where I remember making handmade friendship bracelets and selling those at my desk. I had one of those old fashioned desks, where you lift up the lid, and people would come to my desk at lunchtime, and I would sell them friendship bracelets in exchange for money. And during that time, I was very little, and I think the teachers didn't quite know what to do with me, or with a young entrepreneur. And whilst we might go, oh, now, they told my mum, they confiscated everything, and that was the end of that. Whereas I think if Alice came to me now and somebody told me she'd done the same, I'd probably pat her on the back and ask her how much she'd made, and also kind of like ask her about her product and her service that she's providing and all sorts. I'd just get so into it. But obviously it was a different time. I'm 45 years old, so actually that was a very, very long time ago, and everything has changed so much since then. For the last sort of couple of years, I've been studying human design. And the reason I wanted to study it is because I started to really notice that in the last sort of 10, 15 years that I've been teaching around marketing, sort of the digital marketing space, around sort of small business, growing small business, that we were really pumping out a lot of content and training, which was trying to convince everybody to do things in this way, right? Forcing everybody to kind of say, well, this is the way that I've done it. This is how I've achieved success. So this is the way to do it. And I started to realize that actually we're all very, very unique. And I've always believed that, really. The whole of my life, I've always believed that we're quite unique. And that's probably because sometimes I felt like I've stuck out a bit like a sore thumb and not really understood it. And this has been a very, very therapeutic discovery process for me, because I've got to understand me as a person a lot more, my family, the people I love, my friendships, the relationships I have both professionally and personally. It's really helped me uncover an awful lot. And before anybody sort of logs off and goes, oh, it's all a bunch of woo-woo nonsense, it actually isn't. But I will say now that I do love woo-woo, but before you poo-poo the woo-woo, don't. Because actually it all fits together. And as I started sort of discovering and learning more about human design and what it is, there are people now emerging and have been teaching it for a number of years. And they've been teaching it in a way which kind of explains, this is what human design is. These are what the beautiful body graph that you generate. This is what it means. These are what the different parts of the chart might mean. And what I wanted to do is build that connection with business and actually use it to help you build a business that you really love. We get so caught up in what we think we should be doing. And as a result, it derails us and often shatters our motivation. And then we are busy looking over the fence at what everybody else is doing and saying, well, how come it's working for them and not for me? And I really wanted to unpick this. And I also wanted to unpick the stories we tell each other, because I'm a massive big believer that our life is seasonal, right? Our life is made up of lots and lots of different chapters. If you just look at it in its purest sense, often it's from when our youth through to our teenagehood, through to our young adulthood, through to adulthood, and so forth, right? And during that period, we will find partners, we will create homes, we may start families, we may build businesses, we may change careers. And every single one of those areas is a chapter in our life. And when you look back at your life and you look at all of those chapters, just for a moment, reflect on the person you were and the person you became, right? So that chapter has obviously taken you on some kind of journey. That chapter has moved you from one place to another. And I can honestly sit here and say to you that the person that I am today, is nowhere near the person that I was sort of 20 odd years ago, because that person was very, very different. I only knew certain experiences in my life until then. I'd only met so many people in my life until then. I'd only done so many things, right? Whereas now that pot is so much bigger. I've experienced more things. I've met more people. I've tried different things. I've failed. I've succeeded. I've done lots and lots of different things. And as a result of that, that then creates the Effie that's able to sit here and talk to you today. And when I start talking about human design, that is as a result of having studied it for the last couple of years. But one of the other things is that I have integrated it so much into my business, even with my professional clients, who run, nicely sized medium to large companies, have got amazing employees. And I will, at any opportunity, start looking at their design as long as they're happy to share their details. And so what I wanted to do is really get under the hood of how it can help you. So I won't do that exactly in this episode. For this one, it's very much an introduction. But what I will say is that how has human design, for example, helped me in my business? Well, by understanding my energy type, so the type of person that I am, and within human design, there are 5 types. I'm able to kind of really understand like how I make decisions, right? How I make decisions, my personality type, what that's like. And then when I really, really look at these beautiful, wonderful charts, which actually, I had quite an emotional response when I first saw it, because I couldn't quite understand, I couldn't quite believe that this chart was me, right? But the important thing to understand is that no matter the coloured lines, no matter the little numbers, no matter which shapes are coloured in, no matter, what type you are, we experience all of the charts. We just experience it in a different, unique way. And the chart isn't necessarily, this is how you are designed. So I'm really careful about talking about human design, because it makes it look like something has been decided for you. What human design does is it gives you the plot outline. It gives you your story, right? The story outline. And how you fill in that story is completely up to you. And it will depend on the type of relationships you have, how you choose to live your life, the values you have, the experiences you've had, how you grew up, what's been imprinted on you in terms of kind of other people's thoughts and beliefs, right? A lot of people, when they talk about kind of the whole human experience, the whole human design experience, they talk very much around getting back to yourself, the person that you were before everyone else told you who you should be. And I think there is some truth in that. I also think that part of our life experience and the journey that we go through, that is kind of a process, right? It's kind of unpicking all of that. And it's not necessarily always a deliberate, intentional act. It's just as a result of maybe something that has happened, good and bad, right? I know that, as I sit here today, as I said earlier, the person that I am today is very, very different to the person that I was. And I've had to heal quite a few bits because I had quite a traumatic childhood. I had, I've had business failures, business successes. I've had relationship successes and relationship failures. And all of those things have left an imprint on me. And I've got to decide whether that is something that I want to invest my belief in and go, actually, I'm going to carry that story forward for forever, right? Or whether I actually say, you know what, it's not such a great story, but these are the bits that I liked. Right, I'm going to take those. I'm going to do something with those, learn from them, figure out what I want to do with them going forward. And the rest I'm just going to leave. Okay. Now, as you're sitting here listening to that, your instant reaction would be like, well, how on earth would you do something like that? Because a lot of us kind of get set in our ways. We've got set beliefs, especially if you've been convinced of a certain path, for forever, really. But that's the journey. That's the beauty of being human. We are unbelievably complex. We are incredible and we are gifted. And it's those gifts that we can take, and create something from. And I think the other part of this, and I know a lot of my community is creative, which I absolutely love because I'm a creative as well, is that this is very much around being a creative human. Left brain, right brain, doesn't matter, right? You are a creative human at your essence. And so human design explores that. And so when you look at the chart, as I said, it's very much around kind of like, well, how to best spend and invest your energy, the best way for you to make decisions. That means that they're aligned to who you are. your personality. And this was the one that got me the most, because as I started looking at my personality type and I started looking at my business, I was like completely blown away. I've got a line 4 profile. So I've got a 4/6 profile in human design. And the line 4 makes me a people person, which is just hilarious because there are also moments when I just want to hide away from the world as well. But the people person, the line 4 side of me tells me that the opportunities that I want to generate in my business comes from my network. And when I look back on my whole career, it always has. Somebody has always recommended me for a new job. Customers and clients have come forward because others have recommended them, which is why I'm such a big community enthusiast. And hilariously, within my design, within my line 4 profile, community comes up so strongly, right? But then if I look at someone like my sister and I'm looking at her profile design, I'm looking at her chart, she is a storyteller. And so her desire to write and write books and be able to share stories and people to impart their stories onto her is very, very natural. And it's all there in her chart. The other day, I was also sent a message to my husband because I laughed, because the thing is, human design's a constant learning, right? So I look, as I kind of read more and more charts and I work with more and more people, and I've already worked with like I'd say about 100 odd people now. As we've done more and more, as I do more and more, obviously it's going, development of human design becomes deeper, right? But I sent a message to my husband the other day because it actually looks at your digestion. How do you best eat? Which is great if you want like a healthy, relationship with your body. Maybe you want to kind of look at your weight. And at the moment, because I'm perimenopausal, it's kind of like a bit of an area I'm exploring. And the the design chart also tells me my digestive type, and it tells me I'm an alternative type, right? And to anybody else, it's like, well, what does that mean? And as I was looking at it, I started laughing a lot. And I sent a screenshot to my husband that I wrote something. And basically, an alternative type is somebody that needs to have kind of like simple food, can kind of switch between hot and cold. And when they want to eat it, might be at different times, they'll alternate. But the other habit of somebody with an alternative appetite is the fact that we eat in pockets. I don't mix my food. And so for years, I've gone out to restaurants with people laughing at me, making jokes, because I'm always the person that goes, I want the potatoes first, and then I'm going to have my veg, and then I'm going to have the next part of my dinner. And normally I leave the bit that I really, really want to the end, which is just hilarious, and I won't mix it. So, of course, there's been much debate over the dinner table because I won't mix my food or my flavours. And it turns out that's exactly how I am designed. That is what alternative eating means. When I look at my daughter, Alice likes to eat after the sun has gone down. And we were like, oh my gosh, we're all up in arms because we've been told, since we were very little that nutritionally we need to eat before a certain time because of our digestive system in our body, blah, 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 right? But again, we're looking at that across the entire population of the squillions and squillions of people that live on Earth. And we're assuming that one body type is going to be the same as another, right? When I looked at Alice's digestive system, it kind of said that she likes to do evening eating, right? So both my husband and I went, all right then, and we backed off. She's able to kind of control her appetite. She is enjoying her food much more because she's not being forced to eat it at times that she doesn't want. And yes, I'm going to sit here on this podcast and probably get told off that my daughter likes to eat after the sun has set. And I'm okay with that. She's also a late sleeper, so I know that she's actually not going to bed on a full tummy, etc., etc. So it all plays into the rest of the rhythm that she has created for herself. And so it's really, really quite interesting. When I look at my husband and the relationships I have with my husband and the way that I parent my daughter, looking at their charts, it was like light bulb moments going off, right? Trying to understand why there are times when I was just like getting really agitated and annoyed, say, with my husband over something, and then looking at his chart and going, it makes complete sense because this is the outline of who he is, right? So human design is not only able to help me in my business and my life, my relationships, but also understanding myself, the way I parent. There are so many areas, and it is absolutely amazing. And I think, going forward, this is, I want to commit myself to this because I feel like it is such a big piece of understanding who we are. And in the 100 odd charts that I have done, there has not been one person yet, touch wood, who has sat here and said to me, that's wrong, or I'm not sure about that. It has given people pause for thought because at the end of the day, it's telling you the plot outline of your story, to your truest self. Now, sometimes we can convince ourselves we're actually one way, but if we really listen to ourselves, we'll know actually that's not the truth and we're actually another way, or that we like something else and we prefer something else, irrespective of what everyone else says around us, right? Human design is courageous, just like you as business owners building and growing your business. It is courageous. It asks you to stand in your power of who you are. And I would much rather show up in this world as my happy, bubbly self than to show up upset or angry or bitter, which is a sign of the shadow side of my energy type within human design. I'd much rather wake up and be able to see the sunshine, right? Now, the thing is, we live in a world that's kind of demands a lot of us. There's always a lot going on around us. There's the news, we ebb and we flow, especially emotionally. We have a load of stuff where people tell, we've got a whole planet movement that is going on around us. We have other people sharing their beliefs. And then at the heart of it, we're all just showing up and trying to do our best. But what if your best could be supercharged with a deeper understanding of who you are? What if your best could be supercharged with extra knowledge in how you can actually navigate your world? If somebody had said that to me, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, even 20 years ago, I would have snapped their hand off and said, tell me how. Okay. The other thing with human design is that it gets very near to your purpose, and it doesn't, it, and I've had lots of conversations with people, especially in kind of like the 39 plus years of life, who have sat with me and said, like, I don't know what my purpose is. I want to figure out what my purpose is. And I'm very quickly able to kind of look at their chart, look at, everything else, all the symbolism that goes around the chart, all of the different numbers, the colored lines and everything, and able to say to them, well, this is your area. Now, I'm never going to be able to say to them, this is the thing that you must do, because you work that out, because that's part of your story. But if someone can give you a framework that says, well, actually, this is the realms of what your purpose is, right? You would go, okay, thank you so much. And then you'd go off and you'd kind of figure this stuff out. And, it's a real, it has changed everything for me. Now when Alice does something, I'll say to Clive, that's her gate, blah, blah. And he's looking at me and I'm like, yep, that's her type. And Alice is a projector by type, as I am. That's our energy type. And it's really funny because I will say to her, it's her projectorism. And it just makes us more accepting of each other. And I actually think kinder and more loving as well, because at the heart of all of this, it is about being kinder to each other. It is about being more loving to each other. It is about showing up in the world with integrity and, with deep values about who we want to be. Because the people that we are influences our children. Our children then influences their children and so forth. And, we are kind of like existing in a world that right now is battling against each other because so much is going on. And all I want to do in the piece of my world that I have is just be a positive influence and be able to help people and hopefully be able to share something that might be of value to you. I should also point out that integrity is a massive big value that shows up in my chart. I've always known that anyway. That's another story for another day. So I can't sit here and say something that isn't right. Like, it's literally against my design of who I am. So what I can promise you is that I believe wholeheartedly what I say. I believe wholeheartedly what I share, not just because I've read it in a book, but because I have seen it, right? I live it. And that's why I so want to talk about it. We've got so much goodness coming, not only just in trainings for business and all those kind of lovely things and some products, etc., that I'm really excited about. I have got a lot of hard work ahead of me, but I am really, really excited. And right now, this is where I'm starting. So if you found this useful, if you want to say anything, if you just want to go, yeah, I'm in, just comment down below, wherever the comment is. And I look forward to kind of sharing more. I think I'm going to try and do this at least minimum weekly, but I suspect at the beginning I've got so much to tell you that I'm just going to probably record as often as I can. So I hope that you enjoy, and I look forward to speaking with you all soon. Take care and so much love. Bye.